All right, we are up and rolling again. Awesome. Welcome back to our Tuesday 5 o'clock. Two guys reselling. I'm Jeff, and this is Succeed with Chris, hanging out with us today and handling all the fun techie stuff on the back end. And it goes right along with the topic for today is how to handle challenges in our business. And Chris was having challenges with getting the broadcast started. Right? Didn't you say something about a thumbnail wasn't working right or something?
Yep, exactly.
Yep. Good deal. Yeah, it's a good day to talk about challenges because there's a lot of stuff going on right now as we transition into getting close to spring time, and we're having I'd say an early spring here. Our weather's been fantastic for this time of year in Indiana, February and March. It's all stayed north of us, and they can just keep it up there, no problem. We had almost a 70 degree day yesterday, and a little chillier today, but it was more normal what you should be today, so that's cool. So yeah, we're going to talk about challenges today. Everybody has them. I was hoping to write down some ideas or some thoughts on what kind of challenges resellers typically face, and then talk about a few of our own challenges ourselves. You can start just about anywhere, Chris. I mean, people can say challenges with eBay itself if they're using the eBay platform or the other platforms. Challenges with the business overall. What are some of the big challenges that we face just with eBay? And I'm not talking about the stuff that people just got to fuss about because they ain't got nothing else to fuss about. It is what it is in some cases. But what's one of the bigger challenges you've ran into selling on eBay? Do you have any?
Yeah, I actually have quite a few. So the first, my biggest concern about selling stuff on eBay is I had an eBay account before when I had a business in Washington State. And the biggest challenge was getting enough product to keep your store stocked fully. And I found that incredibly challenging. Now, back then, I was mostly selling used computer parts. And you get them tested, and there was a big problem. We had a high rate of selling. We sold out often, but we also had a high rate of returns, which, if you notice now, I don't have any electronics for sale at all. I think I have some software, but no electronics, just because for me, the biggest thing was trying to get my hands on enough electronics to keep the store stocked and then dealing with all those returns. My solution to that problem was don't sell electronics anymore. And I'm sure there are people out there who they make a great deal of money with electronics. I know there are a lot of eBay stores, that's all they sell is electronics. They figured out how to do it, and I'm very happy for them. But I didn't want to put up with that type of aggravation and turnover. And the profit wasn't really all that good. The profit rating was low because of all the returns that we dealt with. And a lot of scams involved with electronics too. So I just decided I'm not going to deal with that. I've sold thousands of comic books on eBay, and I've never had a single comic book returned. So that's a huge difference if you think about that.
Yeah.
Jeff, did you want to talk about one of your challenges? We could go back and forth, like trading challenges.
Easily. I mean, yeah, I totally. Sorry, got a dog coming in the door. I totally agree with the electronics. I've sold some myself. Had a couple of issues here or there, but I didn't sell enough to really run into everything that you were talking about. Video games. I still got video game stuff here to sell. I've got, but I've had very little issues with those also, because you can pretty quickly figure out it works or it doesn't work. and you ship it out saying it works. And most of the gamers out there are pretty cool about everything. I don't think I've had a game. I've had a couple of games that maybe they worked when I had them here, and they say they didn't work, and I just okay, well, it was only a couple bucks anyway, so I'll just refund you and keep the game and move on. So no big deal there. But yeah, I totally agree with the biggest challenge on an electronic I remember selling, and I think it was just a couple years ago, I had found an old vintage radio that still had the glass tubes in it, and
Wow.
the guy instructed me on how to pack and ship that baby because he didn't care about the rest of the radio. He just needed the tubes to get to him, and he didn't want me to take it apart or mess with him. So yeah, that was fun, and I was kind of praying on that one that everything would go well because it was a fairly decent sale, and it did. So, but yeah, returns though, talking about electronics returns, that's been a challenge for me this week. I have not had returns for a long time, and all of a sudden this week I've got three that I know of. One was size didn't fit correctly. Another one was not what they thought it was, and yeah, then the third one was also actually a stack of CDs, discs, and he thought he was ordering mini discs, and they weren't. Those regular size discs. So that was on them, but still a return coming back to me that I got to restock. So yeah, I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges in eBay is when you do have stuff that I sell clothing, so I don't have a lot of returns on clothing. Shoes seem to be an issue. Selling those seem to be a bigger issue than clothing because of size and fit. That's the chance you're taking when you buy shoes online, because we're all so used to having mommy take us by our hand and go to the shoe store and have them try on our shoes and measure our feet and get just the right size for everything. But when you're online, you just got to take your best shot with it. But yeah, returns has been an issue this last week or so. It's really, I just get a couple of sales ahead, and then bam, I got another inbox. It's like, what is going on? And I think everybody goes through this kind of in cycles. There's always going to be those tough spots as you're rolling through your business, and the smaller the seller, the more effect it can have on you. If you're a bigger, high volume seller, then no big deal. It's a percentage that you're going to have to deal with, just like any other retail outlet store. And and you just move on. But when you're a smaller seller, those are a challenge. And the best way to deal with that kind of a challenge is just make sure your listings are as accurate as possible and your pictures are spot on, that you're giving the description. I mean, I've got a lot of my stuff that get good feedback on, and say, oh yeah, the item was exactly as he described it. But there's always that one or two out there that slip by. So again, when you're a smaller seller, it's a bigger challenge than it is when you're more of a high volume seller. So for sure.
That's why when you're figuring out your business costs, not so much your cost of sale, but just your overhead in general, be sure to include your returns in that statement as a loss. Especially like if you're like me, I pay for return shipping of the item. So the customer can just print out their shipping label, slap it on a box, put the item in there and ship it to me. And it doesn't cost them anything. So the cost of that shipping, I have to put under as a loss. And then whether or not the item comes to me intact, if it comes to me intact and I can resell it, that's terrific. If it arrives to me broken and I can't resell it, then that's another monetary loss that also has to be recorded. If you keep accurate track of this, you'll find a lot of times people will say, account for 30% of your sales to be returns. For myself, I find it's floats between 7 and 10%. And that seems to become more common during the holidays. Like people don't know what they're getting. They think somebody wants something like a Superman something, but Batman is really their favorite. So the items will get returned in those instances. It's right around 10%, but normally it's lower. But you're not going to know unless you track it, and also plan for it. You really need to plan for returns. The more popular your niche is, more than likely the higher your returns are going to be. So just that's the solution to that, is just plan on it, budget for it, and track it.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say probably a lot of people, including myself, if it's a little bit of a higher dollar item, I maybe spend a little bit more time on the description and on the pictures and everything to make sure that I don't have a return on it. Where if you've got a bunch of $5 items going out, it's like snap, snap, picture, picture, out the door it goes. If it returns, no big deal because it's only a $3 to $5 items. So yeah, I think you just battle it the way you said. Make sure have yourself a percentage built into your marketing and your budget, and then just do the best you can to describe everything as best you can. You talk about you're paying for free. Your returns are free. I don't. Mine are they have to pay for the if it's something that is on them that they're going to return it. If they're nice, if it's something that is, could have been on me or whatever, okay, fine, I'll pay for the return. But one return that I've got coming back actually got me a negative feedback. First one I've had in a couple of years probably, because he asked me if I would go ahead and send him a shipping label to ship them back, and it was a pair of vintage. I can't think of what the name of them are. They have the wheelies. They have the wheel on the bottom of the sole shoes. Pretty neat looking pair, actually. And he said that they didn't fit him right. So, he ordered something that didn't fit right, wanted me to pay for the shipping coming back. Said, no, I'm sorry. That's not an issue that I can deal with. I said, you're more than welcome to keep the shoes. I'll give you a refund on it, but keep the shoes, and then maybe you can sell them yourself instead of having to ship them back. Didn't want any of that either, but that's okay. It's water under the bridge now. The other challenge.
Hang on for a second, Joe. Did you contest his bad feedback?
Not yet.
You should contest it, because
I could probably get that one taken off.
It's considered an unreasonable request. It's not like you said you have free returns and then refused him specifically. You don't have free returns. The customer knows that going into the purchase.
Yeah.
Because eBay's pretty good at letting everybody know the individual seller terms and whatnot. So you'd probably, I'm willing to bet you'd be able to get that taken off pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that one. I just hadn't taken the time to get around to it yet. Busy week. So.
Yeah.
So some other challenges, or some fun challenges that everybody has to deal with. Some of the other challenges that we've been dealing with is just getting things done. Chris he was out sick for a while, and playing catch up as best he could. Myself, I haven't been out of whack doing things so much as just I had inventory issues, or have inventory issues. So those are two kind of big challenges that you can face in this particular niche, especially with reselling. Is it requires us to be there every day, to show up physically every day to get the work done. Not very much of this business is on autopilot unless you have given out responsibility or hired people, outsourced is the word I was looking for, to run your business for you. So, Chris, you want to talk about a couple of those challenges? How are you getting back and getting things done, caught up? Do you have anything in preparation for the possibility of having to be down and out for a few days, or things come up, family issues come up? Doesn't have to be anybody getting down sick. It could be something that just takes you away from your business for a few days or a week.
Yeah, so Okay, so for me, I was really sick for about 4 weeks. And in that time, I went through a lot of different stuff, fevers. The hardest thing was losing my voice because you couldn't really communicate very well with people. So I was just texting everyone around me. Someone would be 2 feet away from me, and I would text them, whatever I wanted to say. And it was almost ridiculous, laughable because the person's so close to me, but it hurt really bad to try to talk. Um, so the biggest thing you need to do is get yourself an emergency fund. Start packing away the dollars, and you're going to have to set your ego aside a little bit for this project because in the beginning, especially if you're a newer seller, you're still going to want to start packing away money. But do a dollar here, do a dollar there, and you'd be surprised at how quickly that adds up. The thing is, sometimes you'll get so sick you'll actually need to hire someone to come in and just do the grunt work for you, get the orders packed, get them taken to the post office so that nothing gets out late and everything goes smoothly. And depending on how sick you get, you might need people for you to answer customers' questions. I did not hire anyone to put up listings. Just the what is it? The numbers of that, I don't really have it all figured out to where if you're paying someone $20 an hour, how many listings do they need to get up in an hour to be able to pay them and then run up a profit? So I stayed away from that. So my listings have been static now for about 6 weeks. So coming back is a slow process. It's incredibly slow. A lot of it has to do with the medications that I'm on and the way my body feels. So the biggest thing is pack away some money. The second biggest thing is put your ego on hold. You're not a super person. Things happen, problems come up. Some people problems are so bad they even have to leave the state to go deal with their family stuff. And maybe they don't even have the luxury of keeping their store up. Maybe they have to, put the store sales on hold for 2 to 4 weeks.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you want to talk about a hard blow to your business. Whenever you take your listings offline like that, when you go to put them back up, it takes anywhere from 1 to 4 days to get all your listings circulating again.
Yeah, get them
So yeah.
consistent again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you still have some spotty sales here and there, but to get that consistency back, um, yeah, easily 1 to 4 days for sure.
Yep. So my coming back, I went ahead and said, okay, I'm going to make a big move. So I bought a bunch of inventory. So much, in fact, I actually have to get a storage unit to put it in. And that's with making room in my garage and, basically all throughout the house to store it. But my plan is once I'm done with that, which should be sometime towards the end of the week, I'll actually be able to start listing in mass again. And I wanted to do it so I wouldn't have to worry about sourcing, just start putting up listings, just as many as I can every day for as long as I can, which in reselling, that's like putting money in the bank. As many listings as you can put up, as fast as you can put up, that's really where you're going to get a lot of your income boost. And that's when I'll start recovering. I probably won't see really a good recovery of finances for about another 2 weeks down the road at least. And then I'll really start seeing things pick up and hop in. And so, yeah, so and that will be a reoccurring challenge for me. And it's usually when I let my guard down, like if I go out into the world too many times without my mask, chances are I'm going to pick up an infection from somewhere, which is really, it's quite the pain. It's getting to the point where I almost don't want to go out for anything. The past few days, I've just had groceries delivered to me. It's like I could have them delivered, or I could go out in the middle of Walmart and expose myself to an ocean of different infections and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's getting kind of crazy. But yeah, that's always going to be my thing. I'm always going to have to plan for that, and and have things in place to deal with it when it happens. So, don't ever think, oh, I don't have to plan for the worst case scenario anymore, or I can stop preparing for that. Unless, you have a great deal of money and resources packed away for when something bad happens. So just keep that in the back of your head that you're always going to want to prepare for these types of emergencies where maybe you can't work your business for a month. You're not going to get fired because no one can fire you, but you really should have a plan and resources for that type of situation.
Yeah, the unexpected, expect the unexpected, when especially, it's bad enough in regular 9 to 5 job situations. Things come up, and uh, you have to leave, and uh, hopefully you've got vacation time or sick time or whatever built up because you have to be gone for whatever reason. But it really seems to come to a heightened, can't think of the words I want to use, but really comes to the top surface when you are owning a business and something like this stuff happens. You get sick, you have to be gone, whatever the case may be. And that's a mistake. Call it a mistake, call it a lack of experience, call it a just not thinking things through and being prepared when you go into business. And I know I've been in the same boat myself of just jumping in to go do something and not think about those options. It's like, okay, what happens? Okay, I'm gonna go get this started over here. What happens if I can't continue working on it on a daily basis like it needs to have? So just adds to some of the fears of that people have when you talk about owning a business or starting a business, things like that. But when you know what you want to do, and you've got the gumption to go get it done, you find a way to work around it to get it done. Just like Chris was talking about, you find different ways to work it. If you have to have somebody help, family members, whatever, more than likely most people are willing to jump in there and do a couple things to help you get through the rough spots. So it's always good to have that network of friends and family around too. I know when I had to be gone, I actually asked Chris a couple times to check my store, make sure everything looked like it was supposed to look, being on vacation mode and things like that. So, yep, for sure. So the other challenges to talk about, sourcing, inventory, things like that. That is you were talking about building up you bought a big bunch of inventory right now, and that will keep you busy and in the house or in your office working for quite some time. And then there's issues like myself. Backstory to this is that I've had a golf store in place on eBay for several years now, and I struggled and struggled and struggled on what inventory needed to be in there and to be able to put inventory in there consistently, because I don't live in a heavy golf part of the country. I'm in north central Indiana, and yes, there's a lot of golf that goes on here. We've got tons of golf courses all over Indiana, but the golf situation, as far as finding supplies and inventory, it's a little rougher to do because of winter. The thrift stores, I've got to agree with people on thrift store stuff, that thrift stores are not keeping the good stuff out for people to purchase. They're moving it online, a lot of them, especially more of your brand name thrift stores. So you've got to consider that you're not going to go out and find that. And during the wintertime, we don't have garage sales and yard sales to go to, where during the summer I do, I can do pretty well with that type of inventory. Um, but yeah, it's limited amount of time to do that. And I have tried to restart my golf business because that's where I really want everything to be. Several times, Chris has heard me talk about it for years now, probably. Um, and I just couldn't figure out how to get it done. Well, I'm not saying I figured out how to get it done yet because it is still a challenge to get that inventory, but I figured out at least that golfers are selling their stuff on like Facebook Marketplace or some of the other type of apps, your apps that sell stuff online like that. And I don't know why, thick skulled, whatever. I just didn't pay as much attention to that. And I think part of it is because prices are a little bit tough. You got to, for me to be able to make sure I can buy good name brand golf equipment at a price that can be profitable um, is a challenge, is within the challenge. But it's one of those things where it just took a long time for me. For others, maybe that's not a challenge. Maybe that's just a quick fix of research and taking the time to figure it out. Where I got frustrated with it, and I basically shut my golf store down. I took all my inventory off my golf store, moved it over to my other just everything store, and haven't messed with the golf as far as marketing at all for quite a while. And it normally happens about this time of year. I get all interested in golf again because it's spring. We want to get out. We want to go play golf, right? Um, but I think because I've had that challenge so many times now that I finally figured out it's okay. I've got it. We can go buy some stuff off of some of these other areas instead of trying to go through the typical thrift store and garage sale scenarios because those are just not as dependable as maybe they once were. Um, so yeah, if you're facing, they tell you, some of the gurus will tell you. Chris is an exception to this on what he's working with right now, but they'll tell you you need to be sourcing every day, a certain percentage of your day, get your listings done, maybe get them done in the morning, and then go out and get some more sourcing done in the afternoon, replenish what you've listed. Or vice versa, get out and hit the stores and the garage sales early, especially in garage sale season. Get out there early to the estate sales and then do your listings in the afternoon, however it works out. Now, again, if you can build up a big pile like Chris has got set up, and that keeps you busy for several weeks, but you still got to be looking down the road and saying, okay, I've got enough to list here for about 2 weeks. So a week and a half into this, I need to, where's my next shot of inventory coming from? So I know Chris isn't maybe not going to go out and buy inventory tomorrow, but I bet you he's watching all of his networks or sites that he uses and everything to see what's coming up next so that he can be prepared ahead of time to purchase. And that's basically what I'm doing now on Facebook Marketplace. I've made some buys here in the last couple of days, but I'm constantly looking at my sourcing resources and saying, okay, what else is out there? And I'm also advertising that I'm looking for this type of material. That right there is probably one of the biggest things you can do. Chris, do you do a lot of that? You put it out there on the different platforms or groups to say, this is what I'm looking for? Or do you just kind of just watch and see what everybody's got available?
I did at one time, but lately, like in the new year, my health has been kind of wonky. So I haven't put up any Facebook ads like that. Just because, like you said, if you put out there, it doesn't matter what you're asking to buy. If you put out there that you're buying something, the people are going to contact you, and you don't want to be unreliable. So if you put something like that out and then you boost that post, you really need to be prepared to answer those people's questions and concerns, and be open to meet with them in a very timely fashion. Otherwise, they're going to get bored. They're going to move on, and you're just going to be on people's ignored. Oh, that guy, he never he never gets back to me, so I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just be prepared for that, especially if you boost it, um, because you will get a big you'll get a big response.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely will. And I know that the one kid that I followed for a while for video while he was doing clothing, he originally did video games, then he went to clothing, then he went back to video games, which was good for him because that's where he needed to be. But he will tell you straight up, as soon as you see the item that you can buy, you got to go buy it right now. You better have your cash on hand and be ready to jump in the car and go, because there's enough traffic and enough people online now buying and selling that it's not going to stay there. They're gonna have another buyer within minutes sometimes.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you're following the groups and you see somebody post something that you know you can get and do something with, you better go get it. Yeah, and I totally agree with you on the I put it out there every now and then that I'm looking for this and looking for this or looking for that. And I did. I got the responses, and I got too many responses, and I couldn't do it all. And so then you're fumbling with the potential seller, telling them that, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to hold off till next week. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Darn it, I forgot about that one, because I was busy doing this one over here or whatever. So yeah, and then your reputation as a buyer becomes questionable as well. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But yeah, sourcing inventory, people, I see that a lot in the Facebook groups, people having trouble with that. And again, it comes down to the area. Some of it, this is just a small smidgen piece of the pie. It does come down to the areas that you live in. Chris lives in a more highly populated area, a little bit more activities going on there, as far as sales and opportunities to buy stuff. I live in more of a rural community. And again, the weather situation, winter and summer makes a difference also. And it doesn't have to be just for golf. It slows down everybody when you got to go depend on the thrift stores or retail arbitrage, um, to go out and buy stuff. And it's getting tougher in the thrift stores. There's no doubt about it. You got to go out basically every day, and you might only find one or two items compared to used to be able to find 20 that worked for you. So it gets crazy with sourcing. That's why we need to open up more sourcing opportunities to ourselves, and quit being stubborn like me and start come up with a system, a plan for your day system of watching whatever it is you're going to source from. For me right now, Facebook Marketplace, but I'm also working in the other buying and selling apps, and I need to be on a consistent watch throughout the day. I know I've got it set up on Craigslist, Chris. I don't know if you know of any of the other apps that can do it, but on Craigslist I've got it set up that it's got a keyword, and it sends me an email whenever somebody lists something with that keyword in it. I don't even know how to do it now. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and figure out how to do it again, but I don't know if any of the other platforms can alert you to that or not. Other than being in the Facebook groups, it's just going to let you know that somebody's posted in Facebook groups, but it doesn't really necessarily doesn't mean it's going to post or tell you that somebody's posted what you're looking for.
I see what you're saying. I don't know because I don't use a lot of the other apps. I've just started looking at OfferUp lately, for like local selling and people showing up and picking stuff up from me. But I'm not sure how their alert system is. Oh no, I am. I do know. So like on OfferUp, if let's say you're looking for Hot Wheel cars, you can put a search in for Hot Wheel cars and save that search, and every single day it'll alert you. Well, for me, once a day, normally in the morning, it alerts me to the new listings that people put up that are offering up Hot Wheel cars. So I think a lot of the buy sell apps are like that. You can get search alerts, and then people can message you, so you can keep your privacy. You don't have to put your phone number out there. You don't have to put your address out there. They just message you through the app, and then you guys can find a good meetup spot. There's a lot of people when I buy stuff, I don't go to their home. They want to meet me in like a Walmart or a Target parking lot. And I can understand why, because meeting strangers and an exchange of money and goods can be, kind of what do you call it? Nerve wracking. You don't want a bunch of weirdos coming over to your house, knowing where you live.
Yeah, that's I guess we're a little more relaxed here. At least I feel like we are. I mean, I try to meet in public places like that just as much as I can. But I have had a number of people that are like, okay, yeah, I'll just leave it out on the porch, do a porch pickup, leave the money in a box, whatever. I'm like, ew, that's scary, you know. But I've also,
Hmm.
because of certain items that I've needed to get rid. I mean, we live on a farm here, and I've got stuff. There's stuff out in the barns and things that I have people come out and get junk metal and different thing, and then others some sub stuff that we've sold that I'm not going to drag it to town. I don't have any way to get it there, so I do have to invite people to come pick some of the bigger items up on occasion, which is like you're talking about having a storage unit. I kind of like the storage unit area for that as well, for somebody to come and pick something up from you, but it's not really a high traffic public place. They may have security cameras going on, so you got to be a little bit careful with that one too. Because I mean, I've had bigger items that it's like I can't bring this to you. You're going to have to come get it, and it's in my storage unit. So you just kind of prepare yourself, make sure you got somebody with you, and be as careful as you can in those situations. But yeah, the whole offer up system, and getting out there, and I mean, today I was meeting a guy at a gas station. He was coming from one town, I was coming from another, so we met in the middle of the gas station. That works out pretty well
Hmm.
safety wise. And I gotta tell you, for the most part, my golfers that I buy and sell from, yeah, I'm not afraid of them. They're all pretty cool. They're all pretty cool dudes for the most part. Uh, Not that I'm saying anybody else is sketchy, but you never know what you got going on. So, but yeah, just learn to use. There's a whole program there, Chris, on going through and really learning and mastering these buy and sell groups, buy and sell apps that are out there. We could do a product on that if we wanted to. I know there's
Hmm.
probably I know there's probably products and trainings out there for it, but I'm just saying that's one area of reselling that if you wanted to invent a product or a strategy or a information piece, you could do that on that. Become an expert on offer up and sell it to somebody on how you do it.
You bring that up, and sometimes we kind of joke about that. But there's a group on eBay that not eBay, I'm sorry. There's a group on YouTube that teaches how to master eBay that you introduced me to. And their fee scheduling for their training is pretty aggressive. They're not giving that information away for free. They're charging top dollar for it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
eBay. I mean, eBay, that the sales platform has been out, I think, longer than any other current online sales platform.
Oh, easily, I would think.
So, I mean, do you really need to pay thousands of dollars to learn how to master that platform? I don't think so. I think what you're paying for is information about sourcing, how to make it a real business, how to do your paperwork and your tracking. I believe that's what people are truly paying for.
Yeah, all that stuff that we were talking about at the beginning of this today on how to prepare yourself for the unexpected. That right there is a training that can be paid for as well, because there's a lot of people, they don't have a business mind. You and I have the experience of dealing with it now for a few years, where they're coming into it. Oh, this is my new side hustle that I'm trying to get started. I don't know how to do that, Chris. How do I, if I pay you $20, can you tell me how to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So there's always that opportunity out there. Once you master a few compartments of the reselling business, you got opportunity to charge for that. I mean, your information is valuable. It has a value to it, and it comes in as another side hustle for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Multiple income streams. Nothing wrong with
But
that at all.
But don't do that until you have your reselling business where you want it to be. Because then instead of a secondary income stream, what you have is just another distraction impeding your progress.
Yep.
Keep that in mind.
If reselling is your primary business, make sure that's your primary business for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Jeff, to get back to what you were saying before about sourcing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to mislead people, okay? So if I was back in my early 30s, I would be sourcing every single day. I'd be listing every single day. But my lifestyle since then, dealing with cancer and stuff like that, I have to do things in batches. So I need to go out and buy whatever I can buy until I run out of money. Because after I do that, I'm going to need a recovery period. Then I'm going to list everything I can list as fast as I can list it. Because after a while of doing that, I'm going to need a recovery period. This is just a physical limitation that I have to deal with and plan for. Now, the flip side of that coin is technically I do source every single day. Whether I'm sick or not, I'm usually trolling Facebook Marketplace, looking through for things on eBay that people may have undervalued. There's a lot of that goes on eBay, especially with the bulk liquidators. They're liquidating stuff so quickly, they don't really have time to look up the individual items. And I see a couple of key things in there that it's like, wow, if I sold those 2 items, that'd pay for the whole purchase. So I jump on those. And then, of course, what you were saying about the thrift stores, I'm not in the thrift stores every day. A thrift store has to have a pretty darn good sale to get me to leave my house to go there. But I am on their site, shopgoodwill.com,
Mm-hmm.
every single day.
Yeah, I've got to spend more time on that one myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I look for the good shipping deals, and then I look for the undervalued deals because you'll get it. You'll get it if you're working in something. In the beginning, it's going to be very overwhelming. You're going to have to look everything up, and it's going to take a great deal of time. But just remember, you're going to have that 90-day spurt. So after your first 90 days of doing it, you're going to collect some basic foundational knowledge, and you'll notice it's not taking you as long. You're not having to look every little thing up, and you're quicker about it. And it'll happen. Every quarter, you're going to get better and better and better to where you could be like, oh, comic books, I don't got to look that up. I know what that's worth. I know what that's worth. Collectible die-cast metal cars, I know what those are worth. And you'll get to that point. But you need to do something for your reselling business every single day, regardless of what that something is, because it's your business. And if you don't work it every day, it's going to die.
Yep. Yeah. As we say, the money is in the buying, so that's why the sourcing is so important to do, and it's also one of the easiest things to let go. And all of a sudden you're not doing it. Then you're wondering, okay, now what? Now you're scrambling. Like I've been in that scramble mode a couple of times. Okay, it's like, okay, well, what did I save myself in my pile of stuff I didn't want to list? So just have something to list, and that's not good. That's not a good thing to position to be in. So yeah, sort the sourcing and just touching your business every day, even if it's a day that you can't spend your normal amount of time in it. There's always those little pieces of your day, even when you're sick, unless you're just totally not able to do anything, which we don't want anybody to have that. But Chris, there's probably a lot more people out there. Well, I would say I know that there's a lot more people out there that are in the same situation like you are. You've got to do what you can do, and then you got to chill for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a day or two to catch up, everything to catch up, and then go again. Because not everybody, like you said, the young ones, the 30-year-olds, can go out and run 10 hours a day. The other part of that, though, is also, like you said, once you get to a certain point with your business, you don't have to run it 10 hours a day. You can run it in 3 hours a day and get everything done that you need to get done. And, if you're listing listing those 20 items or 50 items or 100 items or whatever it is, you develop those steps for yourself that you just get up, you get it done, and that part's done, and move on to the next thing. And before you know it, you're done with everything, and you got the rest of the day to relax or do other family things or whatever the case may be. Obviously, there's always the emails and the customer service and so forth that can go on all day long, depending on your messages and things like that. But the work part of your work as a reseller, once you figure out this is where I need to be, this is what I've got to get done, and you figure out I'm trying to think of a word here, the strategy to get it done, the steps to get it done, the plan of action. There we go. Plan of action, daily method of operation. What's your DMO to get your stuff done? And then you got the rest of the day to do whatever else needs to be done. So it just takes time. It's a time thing. And if you, like Chris said, also getting distracted with other ideas or shiny objects or whatever the case may be, if reselling is your primary, then you get that done. And you don't mess with those other distractions until everything else is done. So, all righty. That was a lot today. A lot about challenges, our challenges of our business.
Challenges are, it's a big subject. It's bigger than just one video because we're all different and we all have slightly different challenges that, like, my challenge isn't Jeff's challenges and his challenges aren't my challenges. And yet we both have complications when it comes to sourcing, listing. There are times poor Jeff, he's got to set up a little Wi-Fi access point off of his phone because his internet access betrays him and refuses to work.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Thanks for reminding me.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, you have that huge challenge because if you can't access the internet, there's not a lot you can do except go out and physical source. And that's, I would say that's a massive challenge. Myself, I have health challenges that will make me bedridden, and it's completely out of my control. And when you can't do anything, that's just as bad as having no internet.
Yeah.
So different challenges, but it comes with the same problems.
Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get on out of here for today. Hope everybody's got something out of our little chat today. We will come up with something different for next week to talk about and continue on as we face the challenges of the rest of this week. That's why we like to do this on Tuesday, so we're pumped up and ready to go for the rest of the week.
Yep. All right, everyone. Happy hunting.
All right. Take care. Happy selling. Thanks.